The cleaning crew's vacuum had just faded down the stairwell when Julia Hartman finally saved the last lighting budget cell. The quiet on floor 31 felt cathedral deep, every cubicle a pew, every monitor dark except hers. Outside the glass wall, Chicago glowed like soldered circuitry beneath the stormy September sky. At 45, Julia understood late hours were cheaper than therapy. The office buzz, printers, phones, casual laughter kept her moving after a divorce that had left the apartment too silent. Yet tonight, as rain peppered the windows, even spreadsheets could not muffle the hiss of emptiness inside her chest. Stood, joints cracking, and caught her reflection. Blouse untucked, caramel hair slipping free, eyes more alive than tired. The mirror moment unnerved her, evidence she was not as invisible as she pretended. A soft cough broke the hush. Marcus Lee, senior designer and corporate wunderkind, was leaning on a drafting table across the aisle. Sleeves rolled, tie loosened, he looked less courtroom sharp, more midnight human. Light from a lone dusk lamp cut planes into his face, picking out the silver thread in his black hair. "Didn't expect another insomniac," he said, voice lowered by the hour. She managed a shrug. Quarter and waits for no one. Ordinary words, but they floated between them like sparks. They reviewed drawings at her station, careful to stand an acceptable inch apart. Discussion of color temperature, lumen counts, and board expectations should have cooled the air. Instead, every term felt borrowed to hide quickening heartbeats. Marcus watched her hands when she pointed. She noticed his jaw flex whenever she praised a solution. The room's silence amplified small sounds, her swallow, his shallow exhale, turning them into confessions. Rain intensified. He nodded toward the kitchenette. "Coffee?" She agreed, though caffeine promised insomnia. In the narrow space, the overhead bulb hummed, painting both of them in sepia. Julia measured grounds while Marcus filled the kettle. Their shoulders touched, withdrew, touched again, each brush lengthening the next breath. Steam rose. He passed her a mug. Their fingers grazed. Neither spoke, but electricity shot through her wrist, up into places she had considered long dormant. She tasted it in metallic coffee, felt it in the sudden warmth along her collarbone. They drifted to the panoramic window beside. Conference C, the city beneath, looked like spilled jewelry. Their reflections hovered on the glass, two silhouettes, separated by a sliver of shadow. Julia saw her own outline beside his taller frame and felt a tremor that was both fear and wanting. Marcus spoke first. Almost a whisper. "Sometimes I think the lights out there know more about us than we admit." The line hung, delicate. She answered truthfully, "Some lights hide more than they reveal." The storm punctuated her statement with distant thunder. Then his hand found the inside of her elbow featherlight. Question, not command. Julia did not flinch. Instead, she turned her palm upward, inviting his fingers. The contact was chaste, but her body registered it like flame on paper. Minutes slipped by. You and MESU or ED. Consequence arrived with the elevator bell far down the corridor. An automated groan reminding them of time. They separated, collected laptops, and wordlessly agreed to leave. While they waited for the car to ascend, quiet stretched again. Their mirrored images in the stainless steel doors looked composed. Only the space between their hands betrayed the tremor. Ground level smelled of marble polish and old rain. Outside, water sheeted across the plaza. Marcus offered his umbrella. She shook her head. "I'm parked under the tower." His lips curved, half smile, half secret. "Then I'll see you in 7 hours. Simple sentence, loaded promise. She walked toward the garage, aware of him watching. The echo of her heels felt like punctuation. Marks on a story that had barely begun. In her sedan, she gripped the steering wheel, pulse racing. Nothing irrevocable had occurred. Still, the night's texture had changed, thicker, amber, unfinished. driving Lakeshore Drive. She let the wipers drum steady time while her thoughts rewound. The heat where his fingers rested, the softness. In his eyes when she spoke of hidden light. Buildings slid past as blurred hieroglyphs. She read in them a single pulsing word, awake at home. The condo greeted her with curated order art books, cold candles, the sofa she never sat on. She did not bolt the door. Jacket off, she touched the spot on her elbow that still tingled. In the hallway mirror, her cheeks were flushed, pupils wide. Professionalism had been armor. Tonight desire slipped beneath, bold as graffiti. She poured water, forgot to drink, and drifted to the balcony. Rain had eased to mist, city lights smeared by fog. Somewhere across the glass river, Marcus would be crossing a lobby, perhaps replaying the same stray touch. The thought carved a sweet hurt under her ribs. Julia left the balcony door cracked, the scent of wet concrete filling the room. She undressed slowly, as if learning each button again, then slipped into bed without closing the blinds. Lightning stitched the sky, illuminating. Architectural models on her dresser, the future she managed for clients, never for herself. She closed her eyes and saw not blueprints, but Marcus's hand hovering over hers. Sleep was thin, fractured by imagined footsteps in carpeted corridors, and the soft click of a door that might open or stay forever closed. She woke to darkness, heart pounding, certain she had heard her name carried by storm wind. The clock blinked to 11. She exhaled, tasting copper thrill. Lying there, sheets tangled about her thighs, she admitted the forbidden's truth. Part of her hoped tomorrow would complicate everything. Regret, she suddenly understood, could be a bridge. Not a wall. It could carry two lonely people toward a point of reckless, necessary intersection. Morning arrived in a misting drizzle. Julia parked early, hoping daylight would dissolve the current pulsing in her veins, but floor 31 lay dormant. Only one lamp burned above Marcus's desk. He looked up, surprised, folding into something warmer. Before either spoke the building. Blinked out. Emergency strips glowed red along the hall. Electrical maintenance remain on your floor, the system droned. They migrated to the lounge window, coffee steadying their nerves while rain hammered glass. Storm clouds rolled over. The river. Marcus's reflection hovered near hers, almost merging. Weather squeezes memories out of me, he said. Julia answered, confession is easier than consequence. Lightning stitched white scars across the skyline. He drew a measured breath. I nearly called off my wedding last month. Each postponement feels less like planning, more like warning. The word wedding stung, yet disarmed. I won't be your excuse, she said. Air shivered around them. Maybe certainty is the excuse, he replied. The generator clunked. Fluorescent lights buzzed alive. Office noise returned at half volume, as though the day itself felt chastened after the blackout. Marcus offered a small, almost grateful nod before they drifted to their stations. The day lurched forward on schedule, yet everything felt half a beat slow. During the project review, Julia stood beside Marcus while the director praised their revised luminaire plan. His shoulder hovered a whisper from hers, a deliberate neutral space. She fielded questions with practiced poise, but each time Marcus spoke bass soft and measured, she felt a resonance in her sternum. Like subwoofer notes no one else could hear. When applause signaled final approval, she realized they were both smiling at the same secret. Mid-morning sunlight cut lattice through the archive room blinds, dust motes drifting like hesitant confetti. Julia reached for fabric samples just as Marcus turned. Their faces stopped 6 inches apart, breath mingling. She smelled mint and graphite. He watched the quick beat at her throat. For a suspended instant, she nearly closed the gap. An intern barged in hunting a stapler. They retreated, pretending deep interest in taupe linen, while heat blistered beneath their cool professional veneer. Back at her desk, an email from her ex-husband. slipped through spam filters, a bland holiday greeting lined with pity. She deleted it, but the ghost words clung. Divorce had granted peace, yet stolen witness. No one was present for her promotions or her Thursday jokes. The absence gnawed sharper today, rubbed open by Marcus's nearness. She closed the inbox, stared at a sky-bruised violet, and wondered whether loneliness made people reckless or merely honest. On the roof, their conversation deepened. Beneath damp wind, Marcus confessed he had proposed during a harvest moon hike. In Oregon, adrenaline high, certainty borrowed from scenery. Since then, logistics had eclipsed romance. Venues, parent politics, registry codes. She deserved someone wholehearted, he whispered. Julia traced steam from her coffee into air. So do you. Wind carried her words away, but his eyes caught them, saved them. He stayed beside her while she finished the croissant he had brought. Laughter slipped out hers first, then his thunder rumbled like distant drums. When the door finally banged open, they separated, but the echo of that shared balcony hush followed them downstairs. At 6:30, Julia still worked. Marcus set a mug beside her. Decaf, so you'll sleep. Let me drive you. One ride. She agreed, surprising herself. The drive home stretched longer than the maps predicted. Construction diverted them along the lakefront where cranes blinked like patient metronomes. Marcus filled the crawl with talk of light amber bulbs that lure confessions in roadside diners, and how hospital fluorescence forces truths into sterile corners. Julia countered with stories from her college stage design days, describing how a single spotlight could turn a tremor of a dancer's hand into a heroic aria. Their sentences became a duet, riffing and answering in easy harmony until the humid night felt strung with live wire between them. The garage smelled of oil. His car offered cedar and low jazz. City lights smeared across the windshield while wipers kept slow time. Near the museum district, he spoke. I'm not asking rescue. She kept eyes on passing lamps, and I'm not volunteering. Yet, her hand tingled where his knuckles hovered. Outside, her building headlights reflected on wet pavement. Engine idling, he said. Tell me you feel this, and I'll vanish if you need. Her answer trembled. Feeling isn't the problem. Surviving is. She touched the back of his hand, then stepped into the drizzle. In the lobby, her phone vibrated. Did the lights reveal enough? She typed only everything we're unready for. Happy almost birthday to her. Send home smelled of lavender and questions. Wine sat untouched as she watched traffic taillights blur. Quiet returned, but inside her chest a restless drum grew louder. Inside. Apartment shadows stretched long, furniture silhouettes reminding her of guests who never arrived. She slipped off her heels, feeling the cool bite of hardwood under tired arches, and cracked the balcony door. Night air carried wet concrete and faint river breath. Somewhere below, a siren wailed then died. Julia replayed every micro-touch, the shoulder graze, crumbs she brushed from his sleeve, the glissando of her fingers across his knuckles in the car. Desire pulsed hotter each time the rail looped. She had spent decades engineering glow for clients while leaving her own corridors dark, awaiting a fuse bold enough to finally spark inside her ribs. Near 3, she woke from a dream of cathedral. Arches glowing blue while Marcus walked toward her carrying a lamp that lit only them. She lay in darkness and faced the ache's truth. Regrets arrive early and desire rides beside them. The exterior storm had passed. The interior one had only begun. Outside, one street lamp flickered twice, as though echoing the stutter of her heartbeats. Dawn crept over Friday, pale and damp. Julia arrived a deliberate 15 minutes late, half hoping Marcus would already be hidden in meetings, half dreading an empty desk. His jacket lay on the chair, a coffee cooling beside schematics. Relief and longing tangled in her throat. Noon, the firm staged a toast in the rooftop lounge to celebrate the lighting contract they'd won together. Chrome stools, muted jazz, coworkers' laughter yet sound dulled when Marcus finally approached her window perch. His eyes were ringed by sleepless resolve. In a hush meant for two, he confessed he had ended his engagement the night before. Honesty sharp, overdue. Julia's pulse lurched. Freedom could bruise as deeply as captivity. Rain thickened by 5, drumming the glass like urgent hands. Most staff scattered, umbrellas spinning through the plaza. At 6, his message arrived. Archive room, 10 minutes final review. The facade fooled no one, least of all themselves. Paper absorbed the building's hum. Shelves hid them from cameras. He lifted a mock-up, then let it fall, framing her face with unsteady fingers. Their first kiss tasted of ozone and restrained years. Julia pressed into the heat until memory flashed those post-divorce nights. She swore never to vanish inside someone else's unfinished story. She drew back, adjusting her blouse with trembling precision. "I won't be your first act of damage," she whispered. His reply cracked. "Maybe you're the first act of repair." Silence thickened, velvet and perilous. She felt future and fallout coiled together. Security announced closure in 30 minutes. She returned the blueprint, eyes locking with his furnace. Against frost, then walked away, heels measured, heart-pounding dot in the garage fluorescent tubes buzzed judgment. Driving home through watery city light, she turned off the radio mid-ballad and wept. Not for what had happened, but for what had. Almost happened, the radical mercy of being seen. Saturday, she scrubbed the fridge, folded laundry, failed to read. Every object felt overlit, as if his profession had spilled into her domestic dusk. That evening, a voicemail, his voice raw. "Tell me you're all right." She saved it, unopened. That Monday ushered routine. Marcus kept distance, measured in professionalism. Voices intersecting only in group calls. Shoulders grazing in narrow corridors still sparked heat that both learned the choreography of restraint. Thursday, the board approved a pilot. Installation in Milan. Marcus would lead on-site for 3 months. Julia would manage Chicago. Applause filled the room, tasting of farewell. Later, an envelope waited on her desk, a blue-ink sketch of 2 figures on a balcony beneath city lights. On the back, "Some lights reveal what we guard most." That night, she walked the river promenade. Leaves tumbling gold across wet stone. With the sketch inside her coat, she realized regret could walk beside gratitude. That wanting did not require possessing, and that love, if that word applied, sometimes expressed itself through chosen. Distance. Marcus flew out on a gray dawn. She watched from the office window as a contrail etched and vanished, feeling surprising lightness bloom behind her ribs. Autumn settled. She mentored interns, started sunrise yoga, painted her balcony railing hopeful teal. Loneliness visited, but she refused it overnight stay. Occasionally, she replayed his voicemail. Other evenings, she rehearsed deleting it. Practicing release. December brought photos of the Milan launch, vaulted ceilings awash in amber, crowds gasping beneath orchestrated glow. In one frame, Marcus stood alone, hands in pockets, wonder and shadow sharing his expression. She saved the image, then closed the browser before her chest could fracture. Christmas Eve, she attended a candlelight concert. Choir voices rose, candles wavered like small brave hearts. Tears blurred her vision, not of loss, but recognition. Some people arrive to reroute inner wiring, to illuminate neglected hallways, so you can navigate them unaccompanied. In February, a postcard arrived, Milan's Duomo ink-washed in violet dusk. 5 words on the back, the lights remember. "Do you? No return address." She placed it beside the sketch, anchors of a chapter both radiant and forbiddance. March arrived restless. Wind rattling office windows like impatient questions. Julia spent. Lunches on the sculpture terrace, sketchbook in lap, capturing the angles of light on bronze torsos. The hobby surprised her. She had always organized other people's illumination, never paused to draw her own. One afternoon, the sun slipped through ragged clouds and painted a diagonal blaze that matched the memory of Marcus's palm against her jaw. Her pencil hesitated, then followed the beam, turning recollection into charcoal lines toward months. And her ex-husband forwarded an engraved invitation addressed to them both, unaware of the divorce. She studied the swirling fonts, felt nostalgia but no real ache. She mailed it back with a short note. Plans have changed, wishing you joy. Releasing old ghosts felt simpler after surviving the newer one, proof that hearts, like buildings, could be retrofitted without erasing original foundations. The first Friday of April, she hosted interns for after-hours pizza, guiding them through lamplight tests on the model floor. Watching their faces shine under circuits she had helped design, she sensed pride unflavored by loneliness. Light, she thought, belonged to everyone, yet each person carried a singular hue. Hers now glowed warm amber inside her second beginnings. Rising, one May evening, she stepped onto the plaza beneath upgraded lamps, the design she had finished from their shared calculations. Light pulled honey soft across rain-damp pavement. Commuters slowed, conversation softened. Julia passed beneath their glow, neither thief nor martyr, simply a woman with corridors ahead. Each already lit dot, she turned toward the river, drizzle, freckling her coat. Somewhere across an ocean, or maybe just a county line, another lamp might flicker if he spoke her name. That was enough. Absence transformed into shared illumination. She slipped hands into pockets, lifted her face to the rain, and walked forward into brightness of her own making.